What's up, everyone? This is the Next Tape podcast with Mikel
And Tanyka.
where we have conversations on different topics. So we have another bonus episode for this week, and I'll let Tanika take away with the topics.
Okay, yeah, so it's kind of just a special one. We did kind of briefly talk about it, that it was going to be coming last week, but we're going to be kind of talking about our new Prime Minister, officially, as of recording,
Hmm.
our official new Prime Minister. And we're going to be kind of talking about that. And then we're also going to be talking about the kind of where the tariff situation is too, because I mean, it's not. First of all, it's not just, I always knew that. It's not just us, but it's not even just Mexico. Like, he's hitting Europe, he's hitting India,
Hmm.
it's really bad.
Yeah,
It's really, really bad.
yeah. Okay.
So we'll kind of talk about that.
All right.
Okay.
Let's get to it.
Yeah. So, before we kind of hop in with Carney, um, there was this news article that I found with respect to a local NDP candidate that I guess it would have been um, like, I don't know, we think it's an MP, but we're not sure. Um, but it was in the Elgin, Middlesex, London area. She has dropped out of the race due to some comments that she's made that is insensitive at best. So, um, So she is a Western University sociology professor. Her name's Amanda Zaffitz, I believe.
Hmm. Hmm.
Said that she made these comments during a presentation to the United Nations Commission on the status of women in March 2024. So this comment, I think, was someone did some sleuthing and found this and made it resurface. Um, so she said, quote, get prepared. My secret is that I want to be a black woman. She is not black. She's very
Hmm.
white. And this
Hmm.
is what she said in an audio clip that was posted by the PC party. So they came in swinging.
Hmm.
Another part of the clip, she's also heard saying, quote, I want to be able to share my ideas without the barrier of looking the way I do. So as a black woman, me, if you think that your thoughts and feelings and whatever is going to be
Hmm.
heard better, louder,
Hmm.
and clearer as a black woman,
Hmm.
you have you have not been paying attention.
So, what did she say? When she said she's a black woman, might she be like, mixed with
No,
something?
no, no, no. She is very white. Like I have a picture of her. She is white, blonde, and
Mm.
blue-eyed.
Okay.
There's no mistaking. She is a very much a white woman.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
Hmm.
Because again,
There must be a reason why she says that
because
she's
she has
black.
no clue. The reason why she's dropped out of this
Uh,
race
uh,
is because she really, it's ignorance.
mm,
It's ignorance. That's why she said what she said.
okay.
We can't give passes to people who say things like this out of ignorance. It's one thing to be ignorant and educate yourself,
Hmm.
but it's a whole other thing when you're being ignorant on a public forum
Hmm.
and then not educating yourself at the same time. It's just
Mm,
it doesn't bode well, and
right.
it takes away also when you hear a white woman saying something like that
Hmm.
and talking about a group of people who are not heard or are not given the same respects in any situation. It's very frustrating. So I
Mm,
understand why people are frustrated, and I understand why she had to ultimately drop out because of it. Please don't say things like that.
right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just wondering because like perhaps she might be.
No,
I
I have a literal, I have a picture of her. I'm going to send you this
I
picture.
mean, that picture. I mean,
It's in the article.
does she? What's her? What's do you know her family background or anything like that, or is this like basically,
Here's what I'm gonna say.
yeah,
Doesn't matter what your family background
well,
is.
no,
But let me finish. Hold on.
yeah,
Let me finish.
yeah, yeah,
Because again, I'm coming from a standpoint of, again, as a Black woman.
yeah,
When you are coming in as a very noticeable white woman
hmm
and things like this is coming out and you're saying these comments have come out, like, and she's not the only one. For example, I'm thinking like Halsey, for example. She has said, and for those who don't know, she's a singer. She has come out and mentioned things about the Black community, but she literally said, y'all, I'm biracial. That is the time to come out and say, this is my family background, or this is what I identify as, and whatever. And she could back that up because she has pictures of her very Black father and her together.
hmm
So that's the thing. If you can back up your comments with you being somewhat biracial,
hmm
then I can understand that.
mm,
But when you're not, and you're most likely European and white, because that's usually what European means, in
hmm
terms of like, you know, DNA and whatever.
right,
I'm sorry, but there's no pass. I'm not going to give her a pass on that. I'm just not. Um,
okay, all right,
yeah,
all right,
like, yeah. And again, this, I don't care. You can tell me you have Black friends. You can tell me you've dated Black people. You can tell me all that. It doesn't matter.
hmm
You're not Black.
okay,
So, yeah, that's where I think how this went is totally understandable. And I
all
hope she
right,
takes it as a learning experience. That's all it is. Like, I don't think she's racist. I don't
mm,
think she's even racially insensitive. I think she's just purely ignorant, and ignorance does not mean negative all the time. I think she's just an unfortunate, ignorant, ignorant person that just needs to educate herself
mm,
on what it means to be a Black woman.
right,
That's all.
okay, all right. I'm just like
Playing devil's
trying to think,
advocate.
yeah, in a way, because like there are like white Jamaicans, and
Yeah,
then
but
there are
even white
like
Jamaicans
light
have a
skin,
deep,
yeah,
but light skin is not saying you're not Black,
yeah,
right? You're still Black.
yeah,
And when it comes to white Jamaicans, here's what I'll say, or here's what I'll say.
hmm
They still don't have the experience that we as Black Jamaicans experience.
mm,
They still have a privilege that Black Jamaicans don't.
mm,
And the same goes for like South Africans, right? There
hmm
are white South Africans, there are Black South Africans.
hmm
If you think that racism doesn't exist in South Africa, you're sadly mistaken. The white people have a privilege that the Blacks don't have. So, yeah, I hear you, but they have a privilege because if you look at someone who's Jamaican and they're white, you would not know they're Jamaican till they open up their mouth, but they still have a privilege that Black people just don't have.
mm. All right, okay, go on,
Yeah.
go on,
Next, um, I'm going to save the American stuff to the end, but there's a lot going on
hmm
with them, but we'll save that for a second. Okay. So we're gonna jump now into, well, Carney. I don't remember his first name, but Carney. We'll get to that in a second.
Uh,
Um,
Mark.
Mark, thank you, Mark Carney.
Yeah.
But let's talk about Justin Trudeau first, because obviously he had to dip
Mhm.
out for
Mhm.
Mark Carney to come in. So, Prime Minister, well, former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said
Yep.
that freedom, democracy, and Canada, quote, are not a given. And this was in his farewell speech to the Liberals just before the former Bank of Canada governor, Mark Carney, was announced as the new Liberal leader. Um, so this comes as US President Donald Trump threatens Canada with economic, well, situations and issues,
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
and places tariffs on Canadian imports coming into the States. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Quote, this is a nation defining moment. Democracy is not a given. Freedom is not a given. Canada is not a given. None of those happen by accident. None of them will continue without effort. Um, that hit for me because what I'll say right now is with everything kind of going on with the tariffs and everything, it's created such stress in my in my brain. Um, it's created anxiety for me as well. Um, so kind of having that and say that
Mhm.
it helps with reassuring for sure. Um, yeah. So, um, he continued to say it takes courage, it takes sacrifice, it takes hope and hard work. In his speech, the outgoing prime minister said he doesn't want to look too much at the past as the Liberal Party looks to the future.
Mhm.
Ella Grace Trudeau, who is his daughter, introduced the former prime minister to the stage and says she's looking forward to seeing less of her dad in the news and being able to just see him more. As the Liberals get ready for the first election in a decade without Trudeau at the helm, he says you should never count the Liberals out, which I think this is hopeful thinking, but here we go. He says, you remember where we were 15 years ago with just 35 seats in the House. You remember our ups and downs and all those times that people counted us out, all the times they said our party was on its last breath. Like all Canadians, it's when you try to count us out that we Liberals show our true mettle. The fight will likely come in handy sooner than later, as an early election call is anticipated in the near future. Um, Mark Carney, has not ruled out calling a snap election. Well, I
Mhm.
guess we'll give him a minute to come up with that decision. And that the opposition parties have said they are ready to bring the Liberal government down shortly after the House is scheduled to return on March 24th.
Mm.
Um, so that's probably, again, coming soon. Um, However, NDP leader Jagmeet Singh recently said he would hold off on topple the government if it meant passing legislation to support workers affected by the U.S. tariffs. Once that happened, he said he would then vote for non-confidence. Because I think
Mm.
again at the same time, like that's what's needs to be at the forefront right now. Um, so what else do we have? So that fight will likely come in handy sooner rather than later as an early election call to put in the future. Yeah, I read that already. But yeah, so that's basically that with that. Um, so again, this article was maybe a couple days ago. That was right before he was sworn in because he was sworn in today as we
Mm.
record.
Yeah, he was sworn in today, and then Justin Trudeau was basically
His last
uh
day was
yeah,
yesterday.
yesterday.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think
and,
he did
and
like a social media farewell
mhm.
um yesterday. I saw bits and pieces of it, but um, so yeah, so he left, and
Mhm.
Carney and his new
Mhm.
cabinet was sworn in.
Yeah. So the first thing first that Mark Carney has done is basically got rid of the consumer carbon tax.
He got rid of it.
Yeah.
So we can't call him carbon tax Carney anymore because he got rid of it.
Yeah.
That's
So
amazing. Okay.
yeah,
But see, that's the thing.
yeah, yeah.
That's a good
I
move.
don't,
I'm,
I don't know if there's a difference between the regular or the consumer carbon tax. Maybe I'm just like,
well, we are
not.
consumers, so that's the one
Yeah.
that would affect us,
Yes. Okay.
right? So I think that's a good move, honestly,
Mhm.
with everything kind of going on right now
Mhm.
with these tariffs that are happening
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
how that's
Mhm.
affecting our economy,
Yep.
um, and how it could potentially affect it even further. We'll get to it.
Mhm.
Um, that's a good move. My only
Yeah.
hope is that that's not a tactic to make sure the Liberal Party stays in power. Um, and then you come back after an election, you potentially win that election, and then you put the taxes back on. Like, I hope that's not what happens. I hope this is like a permanent
Mm. Mhm.
thing,
Mhm.
or for the most part, anyways, a permanent thing.
That's what exactly what Peter is saying right now in his tweet.
Yeah,
He's pausing the carbon tax until
pausing. Okay,
after the election. That's what he's saying when he's no longer needs your vote, but still needs your money. So
exactly,
that's what he's just trying to say
exactly. Because
to
again,
just,
like that's like we talked about it. It was obviously, like I said, thank you, Daddy Trudeau, for taking away taxes for a couple months, and I loved that. But
hmm
again, it was a tactic. It was a
hmm
tactic to for him to, stay in power. With an election coming, obviously with him, resigning, it was what it was. But initially, it was a tactic. So that's what I worry. Is that
right?
is this for real? Are you permanently getting rid of this, or was this a tactic for you?
Hopefully it's for real. Hopefully,
Hopefully, hopefully, because
this is
we can't have more coming
hmm
our way right
hmm
now. Um, what were you gonna say?
Oh no, yeah. I'm just hoping that this is not like uh, a false alarm. So like basically,
Just
hopefully
to
this is
butter
gonna
us up.
be yeah. Hopefully this a long term thing. But
I guess
yeah,
we won't know that though
yeah,
until
yeah.
we
After
know,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So if you, like me, don't know exactly who Mark Carney is, we're kind of gonna do a tiny little deep dive on who he is and where he comes from and whatever. Um, so he is a relatively like a newcomer to politics, coming instead from a decades-long career in finance where he steered governments through major global crisis and periods of upheaval. Experience he's hoping to now leverage as he prepares to take over for prime minister. It's an unorthodox background that could also potentially stand Mark Carney in good stead as Canada seeks to counter a looming economic confrontation with its giant southern neighbor. U.S. President Donald Trump's trade war.
hmm
Did I sound as pissed off as I am when I said that? Okay.
hmm hmm
Um, Carney was elected um, on Sunday, so just this past Sunday, to lead Canada's Liberal Party into the next federal elections later this year. Don't know if don't know if we're going to get that sooner rather than later. Don't know. Um, while he has never run for elected office before, rumors have swirled for years about if and when he might foray into politics. Speaking just this past Monday to reporters, he added that the transition between Trudeau's premiership and his would be seamless and quick, but did not give an exact date for when he will take office. We now know when that is.
hmm
Um, the Liberals have been courting Carney for more than a decade, and he advised Trudeau on Canada's economic recovery from COVID-19. But the banker turned politician did not make his official entrance until Trudeau announced his resignation in January. All of his competitors were sitting politicians, Carney is in the unusual situation of becoming Canada's Prime Minister without holding a seat in Parliament. So that's interesting. But
Mm,
before all that, he was born in Fort Smith, the Northwest Territories.
mhm,
That's
mhm,
new. I don't know if we ever had anyone from the Northwest Territories before. So that's new.
mhm,
And he was raised in Edmonton, Alberta. His parents were both teachers, and true to his Canadian roots, he played ice hockey as a goalie growing up, according to his campaign website. He then headed to the United States for a degree in economics at Harvard University before pursuing a master's degree and doctorate in economics from Oxford University. His career was similarly globetrotting. He spent 13 years working for Goldman Sachs, traveling
mhm,
between the firm's offices in London, Tokyo,
mhm.
New York, and Toronto, according to a profile from the Bank of Canada, which he joined in 2003. By 2008, he was serving as governor of Canada's central bank, stepping into the job as the world plunged into the Great Recession. During his campaign to lead the Liberal Party, Carney pointed to this time as evidence of his experience navigating crisis, saying on his website he had helped protect jobs and stabilize the Canadian economy.
Right,
He did well enough that by the time he finished his 5-year term, he was scooped up by the Bank of England to be its governor, the first non-British person to hold the position. So that's impressive. Um, so as we know, Canada is a member of the British Commonwealth. We should know this by now.
mhm,
Um, so the following years were just as crisis-ridden, with the British public voting to depart the European Union. In speeches before the 2016 referendum, Carney had warned of the economic impact Brexit would have on the country because, duh, he left the Bank of England in 2020 after
mhm,
almost 7 years on the job. So, like, he left there in 2020 and then was helping with Canada's finance issues, I guess, during COVID-19.
mhm.
So, interesting.
Yeah,
After becoming the UN Special Envoy for Climate Action and Finance in 2019, he advocated for the financial sector to invest in net zero emissions. So he's responsible for that. When I became governor of the Bank of England, which oversees the insurance industry, I saw that true. I saw that the number of extreme weather events had tripled, and the cost of those events had gone up 5 times in a quarter century. He said in an interview on the UN website, these things really concentrated my mind on climate. Um, so he's done clean energy as well. He seems to be really responsible for a lot of that. Um, see what else he's done here. Um, so since the 25% US tariffs on Canada were announced, Carney has been an outspoken proponent of dollar for dollar retaliatory tariffs. Good. He addressed the issue on Sunday in his first remarks after the vote, slamming the Trump administration's plans. Trump is, quote, attacking Canadian families, workers, and businesses, and we cannot let him succeed, and we won't. In trade, as in hockey, Canada will win. Boom. I like that.
mm, mhm.
I'm impressed with that.
Yeah,
Anyone who's willing to fight the good fight
mhm,
against this Oompa Loompa, I'm good for.
mm.
So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, so with that, with the segue now from that into the tariffs, which again I've said have stressed me out immensely.
Mhm,
Um, let's get into that. So, US President Donald Trump and some state governors are reacting to Ontario's decision to implement a 25% surcharge on electricity imports to the United States. Premier Doug Ford announced that the province is charging more for electricity to 1.5 million American homes and businesses in response to President Donald. Can I stop saying president in front of his name? Can I please?
well, it's to respect him, so he is the president, no matter what, how you feel
I have to
about it.
do what now?
He is the president, no matter what,
Donald
how you
Trump's trade war. Um, I can't. I'm sorry. I'll give respect when he respects people.
Yeah,
I can't
I
give respect to someone who
I
doesn't respect
understand.
people.
I understand. I have my fear of opinions about Donald Trump,
I
but
don't. If you don't
yeah,
agree with the opinion,
yeah,
fast forward,
but
don't listen.
yeah,
That's fine because as far
yeah,
as I'm concerned, if you disagree with the stance of a person just
hmm
blanketly respecting people,
hmm
then I'm okay with you not listening
hmm
personally because you know, I'm just talking basic respect for people.
yeah,
That people can be different, that you don't sound like a dummy when you're talking about the 51st state being the entire country of Canada. Like
yeah,
I can't. I'm sorry. I did my best respecting him during his
yeah,
first term.
hmm
I acknowledged where he went right in certain
hmm
things.
hmm
I can't do it this time.
And he was the one during his first term did the first agreement with the tariffs between Canada and Mexico, and then all of a sudden,
But look exactly what I'm saying. And
yeah,
the thing is with him, when we talked
mm-hmm,
about it during the election, he wasn't talking about his plan. He wasn't talking about the policies,
hmm
really. He wasn't talking about any of those things.
hmm
You wonder why. We now know why. Because you think for a minute, if he really put this forward, people would have voted for him, knowing the effects it was going to have on the American people as well. Don't think for a second what he's doing to us is not affecting Americans, because it
yeah,
is.
it is affecting Canadians as well. 'Cause it's like,
Well, no, of course, it is meant to affect us.
yeah,
But
because
he
like,
was not
yeah,
thinking about the fact that it's
hmm
also going to affect his people as well,
yeah,
the people
yep,
that voted him in.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
Americans are just as pissed off with these tariffs as we are.
mm-hmm,
And when he's making comments like he's doing, that I think is in this article, so I'll wait. I don't care to respect him because he doesn't respect us. I'm sorry, I just don't.
yeah. I just think like I don't know if he
If
something
people lose their jobs because of him, if we're being
there's
shoved into a recession because of him,
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
have respect for him. I'm sorry, I just don't.
There's well, one of my friends who works at like Loblaws, uh, his
Mm.
coworker's wife lost their job at GM because of this situation.
You see what I mean?
Yeah, so
You
that's
see what
what
I
he
mean? That's
told
why I
me.
don't have respect for him.
Yeah,
People
yeah,
can't get medications
yeah.
because of him.
hmm
I mean, as stupid as this may sound, but it just kind of also shows us the small things.
hmm
My aunts can't buy food for their cat as easily as they could before because it comes from the States and it's
hmm
going to cost too much for the
hmm
company here to get that food.
hmm
So it's small, it's a small thing, but it just goes to show. I worry about that.
hmm
I worry about what this is going to do to the country.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, well, we might fight, but it's gonna be, we're gonna be hitting like a lot of like holes in the road. There's gonna be a lot of bumps in the road for the Canadians to
yeah,
to keep fighting because we're gonna have to like
yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah, it's
like,
gonna be, yeah. Go ahead.
yeah, it's just like literally sitting in a restaurant yesterday waiting for food to pick up from my mom and just seeing the cycle of him and this that he's saying just on repeat. And I'm literally there wanting to pull my hair out. Like, okay, let's just get back to the article. So, um, the government said the 25% surcharge will generate revenue of 300 to $400,000 daily. And the funds will be used to support Ontario workers, families, and businesses. So again, just to make sure this makes sense. So the tariffs that we are going to put on our electricity that's going into the States would
mm,
provide the country, or sorry, not the country, the province, our province, Ontario, with up to $400,000 daily. And they're hoping with doing that is going to be put back into, well, for us
mhm,
to, survive with what's happening.
mhm, mhm.
Ontario provides electricity to Minnesota, New York, and Michigan. So now we're going to kind of talk about kind of what that looks like for them, though.
Yes, yeah, I know.
Um,
Doug Ford confirmed that. He
which
confirmed.
I kind of knew about. Like New York was obvious,
Yeah, yeah.
Michigan was obvious, Minnesota, I knew that too. Um, so let's get into what Trump thinks, though. You ready for this? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Trump took to Truth Social to comment on the province's electricity tax, writing, quote,
Mm-hmm.
"You're not even allowed to do that. Go yourself. You're not
Yeah.
allowed to do that, yet you think you're allowed to do what you're doing to us.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be for real.
Mm-hmm.
This man is supposed to be a businessman. You're supposed to be smart. Like, come on."
Yeah. Well, so yeah, yeah. But
Okay.
yeah, he's I don't know what is the real reason. They're saying that's because of the illegal immigrants coming into like, certain countries such as Canada, Mexico, and all this stuff. But like, there's been like stats that showed that, that's basically almost not true when it comes to Canada. I did,
Yeah, no, I wouldn't have even
yeah,
thought that's true because of Canada.
yeah,
Because we don't, we can go in and out of Canada, out of the States.
mm-hmm,
We don't need to have like a visa or anything like that.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And that goes for any country. We really don't need a visa for any country. We can travel wherever
mm-hmm,
the hell we want. Um,
mm-hmm,
obviously you can't live there without
mm-hmm.
being an actual, you know, have some sort of status,
Yeah, yeah,
obviously, right?
mm-hmm,
But what are the chances that we're going to do that, or the majority of Canadians are going to do that?
mm-hmm,
I can understand Mexico, that maybe there might be a lot of people who are doing that, but we've talked about that already
mm-hmm.
before, and kind of where I think
Yeah,
my stance is on that, that
yeah,
I feel like the people who are coming into the States out of
yeah,
Mexico
yeah, yeah,
are potentially running from something,
yeah,
or seeking solace somewhere.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
um,
No, I'm not saying that, it doesn't happen in
oh
Canada
yeah,
completely.
I'm not
It
saying it doesn't
does.
happen either.
It does, but I don't think
Yeah.
it's not as rapidly as
Mm-mm.
some other, countries
No,
do.
no, no,
You know.
no, no.
Yeah.
Um, he continued on to say, "Because our tariffs are reciprocal, we'll just get it all back on April 2nd.
Mhm, mhm,
Canada is a tariff abuser." I can't. "And always has been. But the United States is not going to be subsidizing Canada any longer.
mm,
We don't need your cars. We don't need your lumber. We don't need your energy. And very soon, you will find that out. Make
mm.
America great again." Ugh.
Yeah. I heard that numerous of times over a week. He said that
Me
he
too.
doesn't need us. He doesn't need us.
We
I was
don't
like,
need you.
I mean, it could hurt a lot of American businesses because a lot of American business do rely on
Exactly.
us.
Exactly.
I know, it will hurt Canada too because like,
It's gonna hurt
you
us for
know,
sure. That's what his plan
yeah,
is.
yeah, because like, I just saw that LCBO just like basically uh took out a lot of American
Mhm.
alcohol out of there.
And there's one
And
particular
yeah,
company, I can't remember which one it is, but there is one particular beer company that is like really pissed off that we took their beer off the shelves. But what are we supposed to do?
hmm,
You have a problem with that, talk to your president.
yeah,
Like, I don't know what
yeah,
you want us to do about that.
yeah, yeah, it's gonna hurt a lot of businesses in America.
Mhm.
It's going like, and it's also gonna hurt Canadian. Uh, I would say it will hurt Canadian businesses because like there's a lot of like consumers that like that buy American stuff, buy American
Mm.
beers here, but just like I said, just as much it would hurt
It's definitely
Canada,
going
it
to
would
affect
hurt
like
America too. Yeah,
restaurants for sure, especially like when it comes to the
yeah,
alcohol.
yeah, yeah. But
And again, it's not just beer,
yeah,
wine,
yeah,
spirits,
yeah,
like
yeah.
it's really going to affect.
But
Um,
but this is also good news for like new small businesses who are like trying to get into these certain markets,
mhm,
like for for like Canadian owned brands, Canadian
mhm.
new owned brands. It's also good news
Yes,
for them,
I do
like
think it could be a good thing,
yeah.
but I remember hearing someone say, um, might have been on CHFI, but I remember hearing someone say,
Hmm.
but we're also a creature of habits. We're used to what we're used to, and
Hmm.
it's kind of hard to break that.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
as much as it could be a really good thing for local Canadian businesses,
Yeah.
it, it might not also be because people have to change and think differently, right?
Yes, yes.
Um, and I don't know how much of us are really willing
To
to change.
yeah, yeah, I understand that.
Me
Yeah,
included, to be
do it.
totally honest with you.
Yeah, they would have to do the research on, a lot of these new companies, new Canadian companies, if they decide to distribute to like, places like Loblaws, etc. But
And
it's open
also,
season for that.
and
So
also sometimes local Canadian businesses
yeah,
are also sometimes more expensive than American products.
yeah, yeah.
Now, is that going to be the case now? We need to kind of see where that goes, but um, I think that's sometimes a reason why people don't shop local or shop small business or whatever because they're also more expensive than
Hmm.
an American equivalent.
Right.
So that's also part of it too. I guess we'll just have
Mm.
to see kind of how that goes, though.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens because like I think the relationship with like America and Canada is going to be strained for 4 years until a new president
Or
comes after Trump.
even
But
more too, right?
yeah, I just think Trump has, I don't know, maybe it's just Trump, in my opinion, that 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 they look at it, and then if the new president comes after Trump,
No,
they will have conversations with
yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
new
I think
president.
anyone, hell, I'm sure even his freaking VP is more
Yeah.
reasonable than he is right now.
Yeah,
Maybe,
not
maybe,
really.
maybe.
Nah.
But at the same time, even if the tariffs are lifted, or are gone back to what they were before, or slightly increased from what they were originally, it's still going to take us a long time to recover. So yeah, it'll be 4 years of his presidency,
Hmm.
but we could be looking at double that to recover from what he's doing to the country.
Hmm.
So Trump later responded to Ontario's electricity tax by announcing he plans to implement a 50% tariff. So, on aluminum, okay, and steel entering the U.S., which he claims will go into effect on, well, it's already potentially have gone into effect already. It would have been as of Wednesday. Um, he says, quote, I will shortly be declaring a national emergency on electricity within the threatened area. This will allow the U.S. to quickly do what has to be done to alleviate this abusive threat from Canada. If other egregious long-time tariffs are not likewise dropped by Canada, I will substantially increase on April 2nd the tariffs on cars coming into the U.S., which will essentially permanently shut down the automobile manufacturing business in Canada. I hate you.
Hmm. Hmm.
This is again, this is, ladies and gentlemen, your president. Um,
Mhm.
The Ford government said it could raise the surcharge amount even higher in response to further American escalation. So, what do these particular states, as we mentioned, Minnesota, Michigan, and New York, have to kind of say about everything that's kind of going on?
Mhm.
So, Minnesota receives only a small share of its electricity from Ontario, but Democratic Governor Tim Walz, who could have been our first president, was sharply critical of Trump's actions that led to Monday's announcement from Ford saying, quote, the first victims of Trump's trade war, Minnesotans struggling to pay their skyrocketing electric bill. And he said this on Twitter with a link to a story about Ontario's move.
Mm.
Minnesotans cannot, I still like a Minnesotans cannot afford Trump's billionaire run economy. We have to put a stop to this madness. In a brief press availability later on Monday, Walz acknowledged that Minnesota doesn't get a lot of electricity from Ontario, but he's worried about Manitoba following suit, which is probably where they get the majority of their electricity. He said, quote, so look, even if it were 1 megawatt, this is totally unnecessary. And the fact of the matter is, it doesn't impact Donald Trump one bit. It impacts ratepayers in Minnesota. For
Mm.
what? These are our friends. Yes, we want to be your friend. We've been content with how things were before. Again, Trump, on the other hand,
Mhm.
Walz said he's even more worried about the impact of Minnesota if Canadian potash, what don't sure is that what that is, fertilizer gets caught up in the trade war, saying, quote, if it starts with this, the one that I'm really worried about is potash when it comes behind it. If they do potash, that's a big one on agriculture. Walz said he discussed these concerns last week when he spoke with the premiers of Ontario and Manitoba. He said they told him the dispute is broader than just their trading relations with Minnesota, which is true. It's unfortunate, but true.
Mhm.
They were very clear that it's not Minnesota. We're huge trading partners. Minnesota Power, the main electrical utility serving the part of Minnesota that borders Ontario, gets only a quote, very small proportion of its power from the province, company spokesperson Amy Rutledge said. Minnesota Power bought only about $300,000 worth of electricity from Ontario last year, and only for 4 months out of the year. The utility serves over 150,000 customers, mostly with power it generates in Minnesota. While it gets about 11% of its power supply from Manitoba Hydro, she said that's
Mhm.
not affected by Ontario's announcement. We really expect any impact on our customers to be negligible.
Mhm.
Mid-Continent Independent System Operator, the organization that manages a regional power grid that stretches from Manitoba to Minnesota to Louisiana, also expects little effect, spokesman Brandon Morris said. He said that MISO gets under half its power from Canada, and less than half of that comes from Ontario. Michigan. So, Matt Helms, Public Information Officer for the Michigan Public Service Commission, said the impact on Michigan customers is likely to be, quote, small, and most of Michigan's electricity is produced by utility companies in the state or through long term contracts. Of greater concern to the Commission is the reliability of the electric grid, as
Mhm.
electricity flows between the US and Canada as part of an interconnected grid. Quote, any action to limit or disrupt these flows would remove a layer of protection and make all of us, Canadians and Americans alike, more vulnerable to grid scale outages. In New York, Governor Kathy Hochul said she has ordered state energy officials to conduct a review on how much the tariffs could drive up electricity and other energy costs. These federal tariffs have been poorly conceived from the start, crafted in secret with no transparency, as I literally said a few minutes ago, and no clear economic rationale. They've only served to destabilize our capital markets and create uncertainty among New York families and businesses. The new surcharge is in addition to the federal government's initial $30 billion Canadian dollars, so 21 billion American, worth of retaliatory tariffs applied on items like American orange juice, peanut butter, coffee, appliances, which, let's face it, y'all, most of our appliances are American-run companies.
Hmm.
Um, Footwear, again, same thing. Cosmetics, again, same thing. Motorcycles and certain pulp and paper products. Trump launched a new trade war by imposing tariffs against Washington's three biggest trading partners, drawing immediate retaliation from Mexico, Canada, and China, and
Hmm.
sending financial markets into a tailspin. It needs to end until these tariffs are off the table, until the threat of tariffs is gone for good. Ontario will not relent. And that was said by Doug Ford. Um, so the other things that I was also hearing in terms of the tariffs, which I mentioned before, was Europe. I think he's implemented, I think I have it. That's give me a second. Um, what that tariff looks like. Um, I think it was like 200% or something. I know one of them was 200%, whether it was India or
Hmm.
Europe. Um, and he, in that sense, was taxing whiskey for one. I think that was Europe, and then India. I can't remember what that was that he was taxing, but it is okay. Here we go. India is 150% tariff on
Uh,
American alcohol. So that's what that is.
that's
Um,
is that the only thing that he's taxing?
that's what it
Oh,
appears.
okay.
Um, but again, like that is going to affect because if India's like, forget it, we're not dealing with that. For
Hmm.
example, here's what they
Hmm.
said, quote, you look at India, 150% tariff on American alcohol. Do you think that's helping Kentucky bourbon be exported into India? Exactly. When you think Kentucky, you think Kentucky bourbon. It's massive. They probably make a killing exporting their bourbon out of Kentucky into these other
Hmm.
countries.
Hmm.
You're then going to mess with the economy in Kentucky. Again, your country. So it doesn't make any sense. Like, why are you doing this in the end of the day?
I feel like I don't know if it's just like I don't know if you're just angry about something.
Who? Who are you angry
I
at?
I don't know.
What do we do to you?
The American people, I don't know. But he's also
Oh, you
saying
know
put
what?
he's put an American first. But then again,
Yeah, well,
you're
okay.
also you're also hurting your economy and
Yes.
also not being educated in how you're
On
taking
what it is
certain
you're doing
yeah
and what
you're
that
doing yeah.
means.
So I feel like someone's in Trump's ear.
No, I don't
Someone
think
has to do
anyone's
it.
in Trump's ear.
You don't think so?
No, I think this is all Trump. I think you're being, by saying that, that's taking
Hmm.
the onus off of him. This
Hmm.
is Trump. This is
Hmm.
Trump. Because never before with the Republican Party leader
Hmm.
in power have we ever seen anything like this. This is Trump.
Yeah, I just feel like he did the agreement towards the near to his end of his first term.
What do you
But
mean?
I don't know what happened
Yeah, no,
for
I
him to
understand what you're
like
saying.
get to this point. That's why I said like somebody must be in his ear.
I don't
That's
think
what I'm
anyone's in
thinking.
his ear though.
No,
I
okay,
just don't
all right.
think anyone's in his ear. I think this is him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think what you said just a few minutes ago too is
Mm-hmm.
interesting. Now it's just a conspiracy theory, guys. Go,
Mm-hmm.
just take the ride with me.
Mm-hmm.
I do wonder if he is mad at people, at the American people, um, and maybe just in turn mad at the Canadian people. I don't know, but I do wonder because he wasn't voted back in
Mm-hmm.
2021,
Mm-hmm.
if that did piss him off.
Hmm.
And that's kind of why he is doing what he's doing, because to go so hard, fast in the beginning, the way he's been doing,
Hmm.
um, he's not even completed his 100 days yet. Or maybe he has and almost will be completed his 100 days.
Hmm.
But at least anyways, in the beginning, he hadn't even done no, it hasn't been 100 days. 100
Right.
days is over 3 months, and he's only been in office since January. So no, he hasn't even in his first 100 days, he has come out with just negativity, just negativity.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that really sets the scene for his next 4 years.
All right.
So I do wonder if he's just pissed off and this is what he's doing. Because again, you don't have to be a politician to understand the effects of your decisions like this. You have to know that this is going to not bode well for your country as well.
Mm.
Um, one more thing I want to talk about that um I was kind of seeing this, but I wasn't really reading much into it until I decided to read into it. And I'm like, oh my God, here we go. This is just another thing that he's doing that it makes me feel really bad for this community. So let's get into it. So producers of Hamilton, as we know, the hugely popular musical created by Lin-Manuel Miranda, they canceled a planned 2026 engagement at the Kennedy Center, citing the quote, recent purge by the Trump administration of the center's leadership. So, in a statement from producer Jeffrey Seller, which was released, I think just this past Wednesday afternoon, the Lin-Manuel Miranda penned musical announced that a third engagement of the show's national tour, set from March 3rd to April 26th, would be canceled. Among the shows recently canceled by the Kennedy Center are the children's musical Finn and an appearance by the Gay Men's Chorus of Washington. Both will appear as part of a Stars in the House fundraiser in New York City on March 17th.
Mm.
Quote, the recent purge by the Trump administration of both professional staff and performing arts events at or originally produced by the Kennedy Center flies in the face of everything this National Cultural Center represents. This was said by the producer Seller. Um, the spirit of partisanship ended on February 7th, 2025, with the firing of Kennedy Center President Deborah Rutter, who was the chairman of the board. David Rubenstein and numerous other Kennedy Center board members, as well as the cancellation of important programming. President Donald Trump announced last month a massive overhaul at the Kennedy Center that included the termination of multiple Board of Trustees members, including Chairman David Rubenstein, and Trump named Rubenstein's replacement himself.
Mm.
So, as far as I'm concerned, what are you doing getting anywhere near involved performing arts? The reason for these changes, Trump wrote in a Truth Social post last month, was the center's decision to host a drag show performance at its venue. So this man's, I just can't.
Mm.
It's just, drag queens have been dealing with enough now for about a year, um, with hatred and and just misguided, honest to God. And then this, he said, this will stop. What will stop? Drag queens? Drag queens just doing what they want to do, perform? Like, I don't understand. He said, continued on to say, the Kennedy Center is an American jewel and must reflect the brightest stars. on its stage from all across our nation. For the Kennedy Center, the best is yet to come. So, are you trying to say that a drag queen isn't a jewel? They're
Hmm.
not a star? So, in his statement, Seller said that the show, quote, cannot in good conscience participate and be part of this new culture that is being imposed on the Kennedy Center, while adding that Hamilton was performed at the Kennedy Center in 2018 during Trump's first term in office. So the reason that's being said will make sense when we get to the end. Um, so, quote, we are not acting against his administration, but against the partisan policies of the Kennedy Center as a result of his recent takeover. The Kennedy Center did not immediately respond to USA Today, which is the article. Um, but Richard Grinnell, the interim president of the Kennedy Center, hit back at Seller and Miranda on social media, saying, quote, Seller and at Lin-Manuel first went to the New York Times before they came to the Kennedy Center with their announcement that they can't be in the same room with Republicans. That is not what they said. They said they cannot be in the room with people who have hatred. That can be Republicans, Democrats, liberals, doesn't matter.
Right.
So it's not what they said. This is a publicity stunt that will backfire. Sure. The arts are for everyone. Exactly the point that they're trying to make. The arts are for everyone, not just certain people. He continued to say, not just for the people who Lynn likes and agrees with. The American people need to know that Lin Manuel is intolerant of people who don't agree with him politically. It's clear he and Sellers don't want Republicans going to their shows again. Not what they said.
Hmm.
Americans see you, Lynn. I think it's the other way around. I think we see you. We see the hatred that you are imposing. Um, and this is just another thing that the LGBTQ plus community is dealing with and has been dealing with, um, really, truly as of late with when it comes to drag queens, especially, or transgender people, in certain states. So I just, people see whether you, whatever side you sit on with that. I think he made it very clear in his statement, who is the president right now, um, made it very clear. Arts is for everyone, not the people that Trump or anyone a part of the Republican Party who believes what he believes in, um, says. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's basically it. That's the end of this episode. Very
Oh, wait,
political heavy, but
wait.
oh, you
So
have something else. Okay.
we have a
Okay.
bonus topic. So basically, yes, it has to do with like, not t technically, but it has to do with not technically about like terms and everything, but it does
Mm-hmm.
have to do with like items, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But it does have to do with like a Canadian store that's been around for
Okay.
over I would say the entire of my life and the entire of your life, Tanika.
Okay.
So
Which one is that?
Hudson Bay
Okay.
is closing their entire business.
I'm not surprised.
So
I've been saying this now for about a decade that
yes,
that's where this was going to be going.
yeah.
Yeah.
So they've been having financial troubles, like a lot of financial troubles. So like according to CTV News,
Mm-hmm.
Toronto, despite holding out hope it can avoid a full shutdown, Hudson Bay says it is planning an immediately liquidation
Mm-hmm.
that would begin next week,
Oh, wow. Really?
wrap up in June.
Wow.
In a late Friday announcement, Canada's oldest company said it couldn't secure the necessary financing to keep at least some of its empire alive.
Mhm.
A closure of an entire business, which is planned pending a court appearance set for Monday, would mean jobs loss for
Mhm. Wow.
9,364 employees.
Wow.
The company has in Canada across in Hudson Bay stores as well as three Sac Fifth Avenue stores. I didn't know they had ownership in Sac
They
Fifth Avenue.
they I didn't think that Hudson Bay had ownership in Saks.
Mm,
I from I'll let you finish before I put my
yeah,
two
yeah,
cents in here,
yeah.
but I what from what I understood is that they were actually selling off piece of their business to Saks
Mhm.
Fifth Avenue.
Oh,
Um, I'll kind of get into why I
yeah,
think
yeah,
that when you finish the article.
yeah. Okay. The fifth location is owned through a licensing agreement.
Mhm.
Due to the situation, looks bleak. The company said it remains optimistic it can drum up capital and find a solution with key stakeholders, practically its landlord partners, to avoid a full shutdown. Quote, our team has, I guess, quote from Hudson Bay, our team has worked incredibly hard to identify a viable path forward, and our resolve is to strengthen by the overwhelming support from customers and associates and who have shared heartfelt stories about Hudson Bay and what our stories have meant to them, their families, and their communities across generations, said Hudson Bay President and CEO Liz Rodbell in a statement on Friday night. These powerful experiences remind us why we must continue to pursue every possible opportunity to secure the necessary support from key landlords and other stakeholders to save the bay. So yeah, it's been the Hudson has been around since 1670. That's crazy.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's yeah. So
longer than Canada's been Canada.
yeah.
Um, but so you're finished the article, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, it's still more, but like I don't lie. So that's basically the gist of it. So that's
Okay.
just basically saying they're going to sell
Okay.
off their assets and everything, blah blah blah.
Okay.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
So on the one hand, it is really sad to see this company that has really been a part of Canadian culture,
Yeah.
um, be, going under. Um, on the one hand, the reason why I say it's not surprising is because, unfortunately, I think really and truly over the past, let's say 10, 15 years,
Hmm.
the Bay has really become a company that has the better word to use, I think, gouge people.
Hmm.
Their prices have been very expensive.
Yes.
They've always been expensive,
Hmm.
but I feel like it's gotten really, really bad over the last decade or
Yeah.
so.
I'd see no one shopping there. I hardly see
That's the
anybody.
problem. I think the biggest thing is that, yeah, they say they've made every effort to try and save the company. I disagree because I think the majority of people who are shopping at a store like the Bay um is can't afford half of the things that they have there. So like I'm even thinking like I don't know if every Bay has this setup, but I would imagine like the Bay at Yorkdale,
Mhm.
the one at Eaton Center for
Mhm.
sure. Um, they have a whole floor at the Bay in the Eaton Center because I worked there. They have a whole floor that is dedicated to people who will never be able to, the average person will never be able to afford. I'm talking, easily $500 and up, depending on what it is you're getting.
Mm,
The average person can't afford that. Um, so I think like that's the problem. And even like in the shoe department, one section of the shoe department, you're looking at shoes that are over $1,000. Um,
mm,
so those are the thing, you're supplying um things that the average person can't afford.
mm,
So what's gonna happen? People are not gonna shop there. Um, yes, you might have the people who are gonna go and shop for the Hudson Bay, like their brand, because it is so Canadian. Um, but really, like the only things that we own that are have the Bay colors in my home is mittens, and my mom only got them because they were on sale. Um, so it's sad to see that go because it is so pivotal to Canadian culture. Um, but it's not surprising. So, like I was saying before, the reason why I was saying that my belief was that the Bay sold off a piece of their business to Saks Fifth Avenue is because while I was working there, which would have been about a decade ago, when I was working there, they that was in the works, and we
mm,
were hearing about the fact that Saks Fifth Avenue was coming. And obviously in the Eaton Center location, they were renovating for Saks to come in. Um, but Saks didn't last very long, at least not that location. They didn't
mhm.
last very long. They were there for maybe a year or two, maybe three. And I walked in there and walked back out because, again, there's nothing at Saks Fifth Avenue that I can afford or anyone that I know can afford.
Yeah, I looked at it. I was like, it's not because I thought it was expensive. I wasn't too
Oh, it's
interested.
expensive.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I know it's
Yeah.
expensive.
No,
I
no,
just
Saks
wasn't
Fifth
too.
Avenue is
Yeah, I
for
wasn't
the
too.
elite,
Yeah, I wasn't
not
too.
for me.
Yeah, I wasn't too interested in a lot of the stuff in there. I was like, I
Yeah.
looked in there. I was like, eh, whatever.
Yeah.
Left. That's like, it's not because of the expenses. It's just like the interest in. There's no interesting stuff in there for me to just like buy or whatever.
Right.
So yeah,
And that's
but
and
okay.
that's the thing. The one thing that I do think about though that I wonder about, um, like with every other location,
Hmm.
like I don't know exactly where this stands, but where they're located in the Eaton Center, I mean technically they're part of the Eaton Center, but they are technically on the opposite side. Um, it
Mm,
makes me wonder what's going to happen because I would think where they're located is historical. So
mm,
I do wonder, or at least like the one like facade anyways on the side facing um Queen. I wonder like what's gonna happen to that because it is so like I don't know what they're gonna put in there. I think about the other
mm. Either,
stores that
either
are located in there.
yeah, either they're gonna do the same thing like how the Picker Mall is, they're gonna cut it off,
I don't
or
know.
they're probably gonna.
Well, there's a reason why I say that though, because I don't know how often you've been in the Hudson Bay in the Eaton Center, but it's technically not a part of Eaton Center. Like
Mhm.
the um like how it's located, it's technically you have to go through. So when you come out of Queen Street subway station, you go depending on where exactly you're located, you go one side, you're going to the actual Eaton Center, or you go on the other side and you're going to the Bay. So it's technically a separate building, but it's connected because of the Queen Street subway station. And
Oh,
if you go on the second floor, you can also connect from the bay into the center.
yeah. Well, what they can do is just basically close it off, I guess, and
But
that's
let me finish though,
it.
because there are other businesses within the bay, like
Oh,
Pusateri's, for example. Like they're not doing so well themselves, but that
oh,
is also a part of that. It would be really difficult to cut that off completely because that we're the subway is, where
Mhm.
Pusateri's is a part of the path, which
Right.
you can't cut that off. Um, you would be blocking access to things in the path, and it defeats the purpose of the path.
So maybe they're not. Well, they're trying not to. They're trying their best. Like they say in the article, they're trying their best to uh operate.
Yeah,
But yeah, but
yeah. But then I
we'll.
also think about Kleinfelds, because Kleinfelds is in the Bay as well.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, the one thing is you can get to Pusateri's from the subway system, like from the path, because it's in the path. But Kleinfelds is on the 7th floor.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I don't know what's going to happen with that. And sure, they might decide to keep operating, or they might keep that location open, or whatever they choose to do.
Mm,
But I can say, like,
yeah.
again, the only time that people really shop at the Bay is during sales, Bay days or flash sales or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is. And
We're going to take advantage of the liquidation, though. Yes.
oh yeah,
They're going to loan.
oh
They're going to
yeah.
get everything.
I mean, personally, for me, I have not shopped at the Bay
Yep.
for the past 10 years, um, for my own personal reasons. Um, because like I said, I did work at the Bay, and it was, we'll just say, it didn't end well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I basically walked off the job. We don't have to get into it. Um, so I personally have not shopped at the Bay. I have boycotted it,
Yeah.
but everyone else in my family has. And again, just knowing how that usually goes, it's like usually because of sales. Because otherwise it's not worth it. You can get that somewhere cheaper, somewhere else, you know?
Mm.
So we'll see what happens with the liquidation sales, but it's
Yeah.
like I said, it's sad just because it is a part of Canadian culture,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that
Canadian
part of it is
culture.
sad.
Yeah, it is. Now, I wonder what's going to happen to Zellers. It is
Well, here's the
advantage
thing,
of
Zellers.
they're gonna sell off their assets like they said.
Zellers actually, so okay, so for American listeners who don't know what any of this is,
Yeah.
Zellers was something that so Hudson Bay,
Yeah.
or the Bay, or Hudson's Company, or whatever they call
Yeah.
themselves,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
they had different companies underneath the umbrella of
Yeah.
Hudson's Bay Company. They had Zellers, they had, oh, what was the other one?
Hmm.
Home Outfitters was the other one. And then they have the Bay as well. So Home Outfitters has been gone now for years. Zellers was gone for years as well, even before Home Outfitters.
Hmm.
They have just slowly started bringing Zellers back in to
Hmm.
the mix. But Zellers, I don't know how they're doing it in how that works in every location, but from what my understanding is, because my mom worked near the Bay at one point,
Yeah.
um, and Toronto, she said that it was a part of the Bay. So what
Yeah.
I would probably think is going to happen is it's going to go back, it's going to go again. Because especially if people, the reason Zellers left in the first place is because people weren't shopping at Zellers, which is
Hmm.
surprising
I
because
mean,
my mom did. We shopped at Zellers
yeah.
all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm guessing they were trying to get interest back to the public as well with that with that being a part of the Hudson Bay, but it
Maybe.
didn't work. It probably did. It did work
But it
at one
hasn't
point.
been
It did.
around long enough for to see if it would have worked. It's only been back maybe a couple of years, or talks of bringing it back has only
Yeah.
been for a couple of years.
But I wonder if there's talks of bringing it back, like in the near future. Like
No, it's back.
I know, like no, for an actual store in the near
Oh,
future.
like an actual store. I don't
Yeah,
think that was
bring
ever going to probably
because
happen.
it is cheaper. And
Yeah, I know
it's
it
the
is.
it's the time that Canadians are looking for cheaper options. This is the
Mhm.
time to do it right now.
Understood.
So
But
yeah.
if the entire company, if the mother company is not doing well,
Hmm.
then their subsets are not going to happen
Mm.
because
Right.
they can't afford to stay open.
Mm.
right? It's kind of like Future Shop and Best Buy. Future Shop is the mother company. If Future Shop is going under, they're
Hmm.
not going to keep Best Buy around if Best Buy's not going well either,
Right.
right? It's all going to topple.
Mm.
Like that's how this works. It's just not gonna work.
Hmm.
It's unfortunate because I think it would be a great idea, but it's only a good idea if the mother company's doing okay.
No, I wonder if they're willing to sell off Zeller's though, like this sell Hudson Bay is willing to sell it to a buyer that's interested. I don't know if
Maybe,
anybody's interested into buying the.
maybe. And I think if they're smart, that would
Yeah.
be actually a smart thing to do
Mm-hmm.
because that is a Canadian company.
Mm-hmm.
People are right now being told to boycott American companies, Walmart being
Hmm.
one of them. And here's the thing, Zellers didn't do was starting to go under
Right.
because of Walmart. Walmart is their most competitive company, right? I
Mm-hmm.
would think because they're very similar in what they
Hmm.
do.
Hmm.
Especially at that time before Walmart was going into produce and all that.
Right. Yeah.
Um, they're very similar companies. But here again is the issue, which again we kind of talked about earlier, was yes, Sellers is a Canadian company,
Hmm.
but that still doesn't take away from the fact that sometimes Canadian companies are going to need to get exports from America. So how well is that going to pay off? And, are they going to want to take that on when they're really and truly, if someone buys it, a brand new company?
Hmm.
I don't know. I think right now it's wishful thinking, but I think right now in the state of how things are going, I don't know if anyone's going to want to take that on. And I don't know if anyone's going to want to compete with Walmart because that was the problem with Target Canada. Target Canada was expensive, more expensive than Walmart, which is why they didn't last very long. So I don't know. It'd be
Hmm.
nice. Because I mean,
Yeah, it would be
we
nice
love
if
Zellers.
the.
We went to
You
Zellers and
know,
Walmart. Who cares?
I wouldn't be surprised if if a buyer would do that in
Yeah.
the next
I just don't
couple
know where
you know.
Zellers are gonna go today, because
I
Zellers was a
mean,
big store. I remember
I,
Zellers being
I
huge, you
if I
know,
was that buyer, don't do what Target did. Don't go after the big box stores, but that's
but
gonna.
they are supposed to be a big box store.
Yeah, but like I would start off certain locations, just like you know how Costco's like at certain locations, like they're at Ajax and like Oshawa and they're at like downtown and then like
Yeah, but I
that.
think that's
Don't.
not necessarily because they
Hmm.
don't go out into other places. There are
Hmm.
Costco's all over the place. They're
Right.
everywhere. Um,
I mean, they're not everywhere.
no, they're everywhere. You
There,
think they're not, but they are.
there's like one in each location, isn't there? Because like there's one in Ajax. It's not like 20 in Ajax, like
Yeah,
or
but there's
two.
multiple Costco's in bigger cities. You got to remember that Oshawa is really not a huge city,
Mm.
really and truly. Pickering is not a huge city in comparison to
There's
Scarborough,
not.
Toronto,
Yeah, there's none.
right? Exactly. There's none
Yeah,
in Pickering, but that's
yeah,
exactly what I'm trying to say
yeah,
is
yeah.
they
That's yeah,
don't need to have multiple locations because they do so well.
yeah.
They do really
True,
well.
true. Yeah, yeah. And
People
that's
are
how
willing to travel to Costco.
they should see it, right? That's how they should see it. The way how
Right.
Target came to Canada, they just went on every certain location because they know that like
Mm.
Target was popular because Canadians went to the US to
Canadians went to
shop,
the US to go to
yeah, to
Target.
shop there. And
Right.
they just thought like, you know what? Let's put every Target in every look. I'm like, no, that's a bad idea. It's just,
Right. They
like
should have started off slow,
yeah,
but
yeah,
the thing
slow, yeah,
is with the Targets,
yeah,
I don't know if this was at every location,
yeah,
but the Targets were acquiring the Zellers locations,
yes, yeah, I know,
right?
yeah, yeah,
So I don't know if there was a Target in Pickering where the
Yes,
Zellers
there,
used there
yes, there
was.
were. Yeah, there
So
was.
that just goes to show again they were acquiring the Zellers locations.
Yeah, there was a one. I remember was it one in Ajax?
Yes,
Zeller was in Ajax?
yes.
Yeah, the same.
Where
The
the
nice.
target was.
Yeah,
Right.
and there's one in
That was the
Pickering.
Zellers.
Yeah, that was the
Right.
Pickering one. That was the one
Right.
in the mall. We had a Zellers there. I remember there was Zellers there too. Uh, it was originally Zellers before, and then it turned into Target. But yeah,
Right.
that's what they did. That shit
Yeah.
is like you said. That
Yeah,
shit.
that's what they were doing, acquiring those Zellers locations.
That's what I want Zellers to do. I understand. I want Zellers to just do that. Just similar what Costco's doing. Do that. Don't do what Target. Like
Yeah,
I
but
know, like Zellers. That's what their mistake was back in the day. I know Zellers was like popular back in the day,
well,
and then
Zellers
they
was popular
just
back in the day. Zellers was around
yeah,
forever.
yeah, and then it just slowly. I think it got
Yeah,
expensive over time.
no, it didn't. I don't
No,
even know what happened.
it wasn't doing well though.
It wasn't doing well like it
Yeah,
used to be. I don't think it was because they were expensive.
right.
I think that people were honestly, I don't know how long the Costco was there in that area, but I
Mm-hmm.
feel like the Costco took over because the Costco was in the same location as the
Right.
Zellers. I think that took over. You had Winners, Marshalls was coming too. I think Marshalls was there when Zellers was still there. Or maybe it was, I don't remember exactly how things went, but I think that was just the times were changing. The tides were changing. I think that's all it really was. And I think also with us, within Ajax, you have the Zellers. You drive 2 minutes and you have the Walmart right there. And Walmart was introducing produce as well. So I think people were maybe just saying one stop shop at Walmart
Yeah.
instead of going over to Zellers where they didn't have produce. They just had, clothes and other stuff. They were what Walmart used to be before
Yeah.
produce was coming in.
It's say,
Um,
it's saying like due to like competition,
I think that was the main. I think that's it. Competition.
combination of factors including fear,
Mm,
adapting, changing retail
mm.
landscapes. Yeah. So like facing decline and I think it was like competition because like the competition was heavy with Amazon and Walmart and
Yeah.
they weren't
Well, I don't
able
know if
to
Amazon was like huge at the time that
yeah,
Zellers was still
but it
around.
was
Anyway,
getting it was
it was coming about, but it
yeah,
wasn't what it
yeah.
is
It is
today.
right now. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
And Zellers has been gone long before
yeah.
Amazon
Well,
became what it was. Maybe more like the eBays, because eBay was around, like maybe more like that. But I still think online shopping just wasn't what it is today.
mhm,
Like what it is today, it just wasn't
yeah.
it wasn't like that back then.
And
People
I
didn't do
think
online shopping back then.
yeah,
Like they do today.
I do think sellers would be successful today, in my opinion. They
I don't know.
yeah,
Honestly, I don't. Only because
because Dollarama is like doing well, and then you have
yes,
Dollar
of
Tree.
course. Yes, but
Yeah, well,
um I think a comparing like a dollar store to this is a little different. I think like with Zellers though is because they really gear to clothing and stuff like that. I think again in this day and age, like with online shopping, like we were saying, people don't go into stores anymore really and shop. A lot of people do online shopping
I mean, you look at the Eden Center.
for everything, not even just
I know, like you
clothing,
look.
everything.
I mean, like the Eden Center,
Hmm.
people still shop unless the food court is involved. You look at the food court,
Yes,
it is
people,
busy. You know, like
right.
this.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think again with the Eaton Center, I think you'd be surprised a lot of I would say more tourists are going in there, stuff like that. People who are on a lunch break might be going.
Yeah.
You might see people in the Eaton Center, but I guarantee most of those people are not shopping because again, the Eaton Center is another source. It's not necessarily the path, but people walk the Eaton Center. all the
Yeah,
time.
that too. Yeah, I would say
It's
so.
not everyone's shopping in the in center.
I don't know. I think it's a bit
And
of
again,
both.
the in center is expensive.
Yeah,
Not
I
everyone
think it's
can
a.
afford that.
I think it's a bit of both. People shop and people walk through the inside because the subway is attached to it as well, right? So like
Yes,
basically,
both Queen and
yeah,
Dundas
yeah,
Station.
yeah, done that. Yeah.
Yeah. And
So
again, people who are in Ryerson, because Ryerson's right there, you're going to have students who are on a break or whatever going into Indian Center because it's right there.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I think, again, like it's hard to tell who's actually in there to shop
Mm-hmm.
and who's in there to just peruse the mall.
Right. Because you look at the Pickering Mall, it's not busy at all. It's
No, it's
dead.
not.
Dead.
No. And it
They're
never used to be like that.
yeah,
Pickering
yeah,
Mall would
yeah,
be busy.
yeah.
And, you
Yeah,
know,
something off topic a little bit. Sephora is coming to the Pickering Mall, by the way.
oh, is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a huge one.
Mm-hmm.
So like, yeah,
Yeah, we
but
have we
yeah,
have one in Ajax as well.
yeah.
Sephora has really taken over for sure.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
But again, Sephora is expensive. Like I don't shop at Sephora. My mom has
but
only shopped at Sephora because she's gotten a gift card. It's
yeah,
very
there's
expensive.
yeah, but still a lot of women just go in there. I'm like, I go to the Oshawa one. I was like, what's happening here? A lot of women are in here. I'm like, it is full. When
Yeah,
I
it's
when I
full.
go in there, I'm like,
It's full. People
holy,
go in there for sure. It's just
holy shit.
like
Yeah,
it's so
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, Hudson Bay, 900, almost $1 billion in debt. Crazy.
yeah, I'm not surprised.
And
Not surprised at all. It's unfortunate,
yeah,
but I'm just I again, this is
hmm
a person who worked there.
hmm
I was there for a short time, but just
hmm
being there for that short period of time, I
hmm
could tell how not so well off they really were. I could tell that it was a matter of time. I'm surprised it took this long, but I knew from then it was 2015 because I started working there. Like the month after my ex-husband left. I'm surprised it took so long. I didn't make it very. I literally quit my job because I'm like, I can't do this. I needed that job, trust me, because I was supporting myself, supporting him. But I just like, no, I can't do this. I'm like, this is
hmm
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Um, but that has nothing to do with the company itself in terms of the legacy. It was more just about the atmosphere, but it was, I knew the writing was on the wall. So
All right. Yeah. Sad.
it is.
Very sad. Yeah. It was another Canadian company. So, um, yeah. Hopefully, yeah. Sellers.
We still have
The
roots.
I'm hoping.
We still have
Hopefully.
roots, I think. Hopefully they're not going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah. Well, hopefully. Hopefully. All right. So yeah, that's it. That's it for the topic. So this ends this special episode of the Next Tape Podcast. The Next Tape Podcast is available on all podcast platforms. We also have a website called Tanyka.
Next take podcast .podpage.io, I think is what it is. The links in the show notes.
And where else are we at?
Facebook and Instagram at Next Take Podcast and Twitter and TikTok at Next Take Pod.
All right. Contact by email at mikeltanika@gmail.com. That is mikeltanika@gmail.com. So we talked about a lot of the turfs, Mark Carney, and also the Hudson Bay as our bonus topic. Anything I missed, or is it that's basically just a fic, Tanika?
I mean, it's basically, we also talked about the Kennedy Center and, Hamilton putting their stance on that.
Mm-hmm.
We did talk about that as well. But
All right.
yeah, that's
Okay.
it.
All right. Okay. All right. So that's it. Anything else you want to say, or that's basically this
We're still
episode?
in Women's History Month.
Yeah.
I don't know what's coming next because I don't know when I'm releasing this episode. So
Yeah.
that's basically that.
All right. Okay.
Okay.
I'm Mikel, and
I'm Tanyka.
we're out until
Maybe tomorrow.
tomorrow.
Maybe tomorrow. We'll see.
Peace.
Bye.